What's up, guys? It's Joel of Punchers Paintball. Today we've got a special guest. Simon is back on the channel, and we are here to do a highly requested video. This is the LV2 tuning video, and Simon's here because he has an LV1.6, and for the most part, the tuning on both these markers is relatively similar, so Simon gets to learn some stuff today. So, yeah! If you guys like this video, make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys after the intro.
Make sure you look at the description too. There's a link in there for you.
Oh yeah, that part too.
I'm so free.
Alright guys, so here we are. We've got two LV2s. Both of these are used markers that are on the website. There is going to be quite a bit of carryover with the LV1.6 or just LV platform in general. But there are a few different key elements I want to talk about, moving dynamics of the LV that are going to affect your tuning abilities. So before we do anything, let's talk about some of the hardware that you're going to be presented with the LV series of platform of marker. And the main thing there is going to be the fact that you are offered two different rammers. So this has the heavy rammer, okay? It will actually say on there heavy rammer or light rammer. So this case is for this marker here.
So does that mean the light rammer is currently in the gray marker?
Should be.
Okay.
Should be, yeah. We'll have to check it. But so the idea there is that this weighs a little bit more. It's going to theoretically move a little bit slower and create like a smoother shot. Now the light rammer is kind of there if you want like a snappier shot. Okay.
And that can mess with efficiency, right? The smoother shot would use more air. The snappier shot is going to be more efficient and use less air.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And something that you can do is you can fine tune it. You can turn your dwell down. You can turn your LPR down, your low pressure regulator and all that stuff. So, Simon, do you know what the dwell is on the marker?
Okay. No fucking idea.
For some background, Simon is new to paintball, and this coming 2024 season is when he's going to actually start playing, and I'm excited.
To start doing the thing, so I got to learn how to fix this gun when it breaks on the field.
Right.
Right. So your solenoid, which is the engine of the marker, stays open for a certain portion of time. Okay. So it's like the same thing as like when the fuel injectors spray fuel into the pistons of a car. The idea is that the longer the solenoid stays open, the more air flows through it. Okay, so if you turn that down too much, what you'll get is you get what's called shoot down. And shoot down is the first shot might be okay, but the shots after that, because the solenoid keeps on opening and closing, but it's not opening for long enough, it's not allowing enough air to flow into the rammer to cycle back and forth into the valve. So basically what happens is you get the first shot's okay, and then as you continue to shoot, it goes all kind of, and that's pretty much similar with any marker. But the LV platform, you can really kind of fine tune things.
And just to be stupid clear, that dwell is the amount of time that solenoid is open. That's your dwell time, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So on the LV, I believe stock is 9 milliseconds.
Okay.
You can fine tune it down if you know what you're doing. If you tune it too far down, the dwell, then you're going to get shoot down. So that's the important message there.
Whereas if you tune it up, then you're leaving it open longer, and that's more air.
That's more air, right? So the idea there is
that would soften the shot, right?
No, it's going to make the shot harder because you're introducing more air. But theoretically, if that happens, you're going to be able to turn your high pressure regulator down.
Okay.
Okay, and it's going to run like basically because you're letting more air flow through. You can run theoretically a lower pressure.
Gotcha.
So that's also an option, but nobody really does that because you're potentially wasting efficiency there. Okay, so the best thing to do is to keep it stock out of the factory. But the LV does have other features that we need to talk about. So with the LV2, what's nice is your LPR, which is this blue body here, and your HPR are right there. Okay?
LPR is low pressure regulator, HPR is high pressure regulator.
Think LPR as like fine tuning. Think HPR as major tuning. So if you're shooting 200 feet per second and you need to turn it up drastically, then you're using your HPR, which is the red one here. Okay, now if you're kind of like trying to fine tune your shot a little bit, then that's your LPR. Okay, and the LPR on this, you can actually take your Allen key and you can turn it all the way in to the point that it doesn't turn anymore. Okay, all the way down, and it will still function. Now, basically, if you were to take any other marker and turn it all the way down, okay, it's going to stop airflow completely, and you'll get a gun that doesn't fire until you back that LPR out and let air flow through.
Is that what happened with Simon's 1.6 when it came in the mail?
Yeah, so Simon was having an issue where
It was bad.
yeah, one thing that can happen is if your LPR is too high, is that your bolt will go forward. I don't know why, but I'm just telling you what happens.
Yeah.
Not exactly, can't explain why, but the LPR or the bolt will actually stick forward and stick to the valve and dump air. So basically when you're firing an LV, the rammer comes forward with the bolt. There's a valve inside right about here. The rammer hits the valve when the bolt is all the way forward. On the bottom of the bolt, there's an air passage right there. The air flows through that.
And then up into the
when
ball.
the rammer hits the valve, the valve dumps air through the bottom of the bolt.
The white thing or the big empty hole?
The big empty hole.
Okay.
Okay, and that's what causes air to flow through. Now on a spool valve marker, it's inside the volume chamber, and as the bolt goes forward, it flows through the bolt guide and down the barrel. And it's the air, it's not the motion of the bolt. The bolt just sets in the forward position to fire, and it's the air that flows through. Okay, so with he was having an issue where it was sticking forward. I basically just zeroed both of your regs and then brought them back to where they should be, based upon like eyeballing it basically.
So you zeroed out these two things down here?
Both
Correct.
the HPR and the LPR.
Meaning going all the way in clockwise. Okay, so there's your LPR, your HPR, your heavy rammer, your light rammer, and then your dwell. And if you go down too far with your dwell, you get shoot down. If you bring it too far high up, you're basically just wasting air. Okay, so you never really want to go above that 9 if you want the marker to function as efficiently as possible. Now, the LV also has one other thing, which is it has 2 SFRs, solenoid flow restrictors, which, Doug, can you zoom in on this, please?
I got you. Let me do my magic here.
So right here, if you look, Simon, these 2 guys right here, okay, those are SFRs. Now, if you take these 2 little white things right here, okay, now, if you take something, I like to use a die multi-tool, you can turn these one way or another towards plus or minus. If you turn it towards plus, that means maximum airflow, like that. Okay, so that's going to create the fastest, snappiest shot. And then if you turn it towards minus, it slows the bolt speed down. So the forward one here, Simon, is for the forward stroke of the bolt.
Okay.
Oh, so it's okay.
And then the one towards the back is for the backward stroke of the bolt.
Back motion.
Okay, so if you've got it all the way in the plus position for both. Now, what's interesting about the LV is you could theoretically create like a really fast forward stroke and put this all the way towards the plus. If you wanted like a really slow backstroke, if you really want a really slow backstroke, you could turn the SFR on the backside all the way down towards the minus. Okay.
Interesting.
Yes. Basically, if you turn the SFRs all the way down to the negative, both of them, you get a very slow rate of fire.
Okay.
And so that's where the fine tuning comes into play. That's why both of these from the factory are at the 12 o'clock position, because they're kind of in the medium position. So the SFRs is kind of like another fine tuning thing that you can do.
Gotcha.
Okay. I found that best performance is you can take the light rammer and turn the SFRs wide open, and it allows you to lower your LPR and allows you to lower your dwell.
Gotcha.
So you get a little bit better efficiency and better shot.
So
Okay?
it still feels like a smooth shot, but it's efficient.
Correct.
Okay.
So those are your moving parts to this marker when it comes to like adjustments. Obviously, there's a lot to that.
Yeah.
So I think what we should do is we should go outside and like put a few of these things to test.
Okay.
And then I'll show you guys like what to look for and all that stuff.
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, so we're outside. We've got the LV2 here. We've got some Defy Professional paint. Something to note when you're doing the tuning video on this is that you are going to have to make sure that your bore size properly. And the reason that matters is because you're trying to fine tune so that the marker is consistent, and if you don't have it bore size properly, it's not going to be nearly as consistent. So something to keep in mind. I've got the foregrip off, Simon, so that we can adjust the LPR and the HPR, and then I've got the back grip off so that we can mess with the SFR as well. So with that, I've got the LPR turned all the way down, and something that I said in the initial video was that if the LPR was to be all the way down on any gun, basically play on Eclipse, fine tune it. So you can see that right there, 280.
You're still going to shoot in the 280 no matter what. Is that like a fail-safe, basically?
It's a fail-safe. You can't turn the LPR down all the way, okay? So you can turn it down, and it's going to still operate. Now, if you're shooting in ramp, it actually shoots okay. I don't hear any shoot down, which is good, right? So
it just sounds a little rough.
A few things to show you guys. I'm going to turn the dwell down to show you what shoot down sounds like. So if you go to timing here,
trying to get in there.
It's actually 9.5, so 9.5 must be stock.
Hold on, come over this shoulder.
Yep. So dwell is 9.5. We're gonna turn this down to say like 6, because I know that the best I've ever been able to do is like 7.5 to get the gun to function properly. So we're gonna exit out of here. And we are in the 280s. We haven't done anything to it.
You can change the dwell without using any like tools or anything?
Correct. It's an electronic setting. Yep.
So that dropped you about 10, 15.
Still working.
Yeah.
So that's going to increase your efficiency because your solenoid's open less amount of time, so you're using less air. But the problem is you can't really, from a dwell perspective, if I turn this over, you can see that the HPR here is most of the way out. So if I were to back this out completely, one way that you know that your dwell is turned down too much besides shoot down is most likely if I turn my HPR up, and you always want to be careful, you don't want to turn your HPR up too much because you can over pressurize your solenoid. So I'm going to go to about flush here with the HPR. Okay. It probably won't make much difference on the FPS.
Plus 20 or 30?
Okay, so it does. So that means that your dwell is still in a functioning range. If I were to continue to go down on the dwell, and it does that, then and it still works, right? Now the question is, can I shoot? There's no shoot down. So that means you've got to dwell at a point where you can still function. Now, if you go to a higher rate of fire, you might get shoot down, okay? So there's basically how you adjust your dwell. And then LPR, you really don't need to turn it up at this point. So right now, it's at a pretty good state. The other thing to consider is your SFRs. So both of these are in 12 o'clock position. I am going to turn, Simon, can I see that die multi-tool?
Yep.
I'm going to turn these down. So if I point the bottom, it's the bottom portion pointing towards the negative. Okay, that means your SFR is mostly restricted. Okay, so what's going to happen is when I turn the gun on, and shoot, what you're going to see is, watch how slow the bolt speed is. See how slow that is?
Wow.
Yeah, barely cycling. Okay.
So if you were to try to ramp, it just wouldn't. Wow.
See the rate of fire, it's about 5 balls a second. Okay, now, let's say I turn my forward stroke back to medium, okay, which is stock setting, right there. Watch my forward stroke compared to my back stroke. Forward stroke, see how you could hear it, poof.
Yeah.
Okay, but the back stroke's still slow. Now, if I turn that back up to, see the difference there?
Wham bam.
Yeah, so that's your SFR. Now you can take your SFR, take it all the way to the positive position for forward stroke and back stroke. It's gonna be really snappy. Okay, now with the light rammer, snappy actually feels pretty good.
Yeah.
Heavy rammer, I don't know. I've never tried with the heavy rammer, but the idea there is like with the SFR, stock setting is up and down. If you turn it to the negative, you're going to have issues with rate of fire and all that stuff. So you want to basically keep it in the 12 o'clock position or to the plus position. Okay. We've got the light rammer in it. We've got the dwell down big time. And then really the only thing other than that would be your LPR. And LPR, once again, is for the fine tuning aspect of it. So 292, 282. Sorry guys, it's super loud. We're outside and back of the store here. 287, 287. So it's pretty good. It's actually a little bit less consistent than before. That's probably the dwell. So dwell setting at 9.5. We've got pretty much everything at stock, right? So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna turn the dwell back up because at a higher rate of fire, you're gonna struggle with dwell, okay? Because the solenoid, if you're doing anything higher than 10 balls a second,
It can't keep up.
you can't keep up because the solenoid's not staying open far enough. Now, if I were to go to 9, for example, higher rates of fire, I should be fine. Okay, now let's see if there's any consistency difference here. Now what's gonna happen to my, at this point, what's gonna happen to my FPS? I've turned my dwell up by 3 milliseconds, 33%.
What is FPS?
That's the rate on
The
the
velocity.
The velocity. It's gonna go up.
It's gonna go up, yep. So we were in the 280s, 290s. 299,
290,
303,
over 300.
300, right. So then that part, now we're gonna take our HPR and we're gonna turn that back down. So in, right? So we probably go in a little bit more. And then your LPR is there to just fine tune things. So I would suggest with the LPR, I'm gonna go in with the HPR and I'm bringing the LPR out just a little bit. Stock setting on the LPR is about a quarter of a turn out, I believe. I usually don't mess with the LPR on the LV2s. Now, this should be pretty consistent. 299, 290, 289, 299, 291. So we're plus or minus about 5 there. So that's pretty good. So yeah, so SFRs in the 12 o'clock position or in the forward position, if you want that, it's going to create a snappier shot, right? If you bring it all the way down to the negative position, then your bolt's going to be really slow. So if you're looking for a really smooth, like super smooth, slow shot, you're going to want heavy rammer and you're going to want to bring your SFRs to neutral.
That's these two.
Correct.
All right.
12 o'clock position.
Yeah.
If you want a snappier shot, which it's right now, would be light rammer with the SFRs in the plus position, right? Plus position means fastest stroke possible, right? With the light rammer, so it's gonna be a little bit snappier, okay? So that's kind of the thing. And the other thing too is if you want light rammer, if you have light rammer with the SFRs all the way open, you're also going to get the highest rate of fire. Okay, so if I turn my eyes, and granted we have a spire on this, so it might be limited there. Okay, here we go, Doug. See how it does that with no problem?
Wow.
If I turn my dwell down, just to show you guys one more thing here. If I turn my dwell down with the rate of fire up, so we're at 9 right now, stock is 9.5. We're gonna turn down to 5. Just to see if it will create shoot down. That's the nice part about poppet valves, is with poppet valves there's less resistance because it's just a rammer. There's not an entire bolt that it has to push forward, so there's less friction basically. So
Makes them more efficient by nature,
makes
right?
them more efficient, yeah. Yeah, so even at 5 it's not doing it, but it's going to be less consistent. Okay, so I'm going to put it back to 9, but as you guys can see, you can really fine tune from factory. You can really fine tune. You can take your light rammer and put your light rammer in it. You can turn your regs down and take your dwell and turn it down. If you have any type of funky issues, raise your LPR back up, turn your SFRs back to stock, turn your dwell back up, right? Because basically you're trying to fine tune to bring everything to maximum efficiency, maximum operating, and everything else like that. So, do you have any questions? That's a lot to cover. And
well, I'm probably gonna rewatch this video to fully understand it. But I don't know what a rammer is.
Rammer.
And degas that baby and show him.
Hopefully it's not in there super tight. We can tighten this out. Rammer's that metal. This here.
Is it that thing from the beginning?
Yep, that's correct. That's where she goes.
So what the rammer does is it sits in there, and the bolt pin on the actual bolt here pops into place. And pops in, so you slide the bolt into place. And now, when I move the bolt, I'm moving the rammer.
Okay.
Now, when you fire the marker, you can actually take the bolt out and fire the marker, and it's not going to leak or anything because the marker is actually controlling the rammer. The bolt is just moving along with the rammer. Does that make sense?
So it's like the bolt shows you what the rammer is doing.
Correct.
Kinda, yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yep, exactly. So, Doug,
What I
you
do?
play paintball.
I have.
Do you have any questions?
You know, it kind of seems like there's not a whole lot of point to tuning. I'm just gonna say, like, it all kind of ends up being the same. Why do people do it? Like, why do people care that much?
Honestly, from an efficiency standpoint, I found that if you put the light rammer in it and kind of fine tune things, bring your regulators down and stuff, you do get a smoother shot and it's more efficient.
Okay.
So I think that's a big thing with the LV2 is stock. It's good, but if you kind of fine tune things and put your light rammer in and do all that stuff, you can achieve really high rates of fire. So if you're looking for high rates of fire, or let's go inside real quick. This is windy out here.
Yeah.
Here, we'll go to the front real quick.
Adventure time.
Let's talk in front of that. All right, so yeah, so if you're looking for higher rates of fire, you're gonna want to maximize things, maximize airflow. So that means opening your SFRs for a faster stroke of the bolt, and then also, you don't want to starve the gun by giving it a lower dwell, right? So that's where you might have to increase your dwell and potentially increase your regulators, right? Bring your LPR up, bring your HPR up. Now, if you're only doing 10 balls a second and you're looking for like a really smooth shot, there's different ways of doing it. You could put the heavy rammer in it and slow the bolt speed down, and it's going to be like a nice cushy shot. Or you could also open your SFRs all the way up and put the light rammer in it, and it's going to be like a snappier shot, but there's less moving mass, so in a sense it also feels smoother, right? So the light rammer, because there's less moving mass, is going to naturally be more efficient. Okay, so that's a lot to cover.
A big old science project.
I personally prefer, on the LV platforms, I prefer the light rammer with SFRs open. Some guys do prefer the heavy rammer with the bolt speed slowed down a little bit, so it's like whoosh, 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 right? Shoots more like a spool valve gun, like old school spool valve gun. But if you put the light rammer, it's kind of snappier, right, like a poppet valve. So that's what's cool about the LV platform. Like,
Is that not something that you could do on the original Egos, like the Ego 9, the 11?
No, you could.
Okay.
You could. Certain point with the SFRs. And then, there was an LPR and an HPR. The problem was like, it was much louder.
Yeah.
So like it didn't feel as smooth as
Right.
like when you shoot an LV platform. So there's that portion of it. But yeah, probably the smoothest shooting gun out there because of the fact that you can really fine tune things. So
I would agree.
anything else, Doug?
Nah, dude. The LV2 is one of my favorite shots in paintball.
Yeah, for sure. And there's so much adjustability too, which is what makes it really cool. So with that, I know that people have been requesting this video for me to do this video. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments. I will try and service that as best as possible. If you guys have any issues or if you're looking for a certain shot, just let us know. And yeah, thanks, dude.
Alrighty. Like and subscribe.
Yeah.
There it is.
I'm so free.